Welcome the chosen ones. The cosmos wants the strike to fall where it hurts the most. So karma waits. Most people assume karma is a delicate, lyrical consequence that touches individuals on the shoulder. Only a few people really comprehend that statement. No, karma may be patient, smart, and scary accurate at times. And when it eventually gets here, it doesn't show up in a nice way. It comes like a present that has been delayed for a long time, with interest, signatures, and all the secret details imprinted on the box. The sound of karma would be the tiny click that comes before a trap door opens. Psychologists argue that the craziest thing is that 93% of individuals think they got away with something that no one else knows about, but almost all of them ultimately have to deal with the consequences of their acts. Karma doesn't require anybody to see it. It only has to be timed right, and when that time comes, even the greatest ego begins to sweat like someone who just remembered they left the stove on 5 countries away. This film isn't about little regrets or mild repercussions. This is about the type of karma that follows a person about like a shadow with receipts. The sort that comes back in ways that surprise everyone and not in the manner they boasted about. The kind that makes someone stop in the middle of a lie and realize, wait, why is my life falling apart like old Jollof? Yes, it becomes that real because some people don't simply learn a lesson. The energy they tried to use against you can actually change their spiritual, emotional, and mental states. And when it happens, they have to whisper, okay, I think I deserve that. So, get ready. What you're about to hear isn't gossip, wishful thinking, or a story that makes things sound worse than they are. It's the honest truth about why their karma hit them so hard, so exactly, and so shamefully, and why they had no choice but to finally learn their lesson. First of all, karma doesn't hit bad people first. It hits their false beliefs. People say that karma comes in like a storm, but the fact is that its initial blow is quiet and quite personal. It doesn't start with messing with someone's money, health, reputation, or relationships. It begins by attacking the lies they told themselves to protect their ego. People who hurt others always make up a story in their heads that says, I'm right, they deserve it, I won't face consequences, or nothing will happen to me. These are the lies they tell themselves to protect themselves. And karma's first move is to break down those shields until they are completely open. When someone goes after someone who has never done anything wrong to them, they think they have power. They think you're too weak, too innocent, or too clueless to fight back. But the first lesson of karma is to be humble. It shows them that the authority they talked about was borrowed, short-lived, or even fraudulent. And when that illusion breaks, they feel something they never thought they would. Weak. Not the sort they talk about in public, but the kind that shakes them up inside and makes them doubt who they are and what they stand for. People who are manipulative need illusions because they let them sleep at night. They think they're smarter than everyone else. They tell themselves they can't be touched. They tell themselves that their falsehoods are true. But karma is like a truth serum that acts slowly. It makes people see the fractures they didn't see before. It makes them face the truth that what they did was never right, smart, or needed, and that understanding hurts more than any punishment from the outside world ever could. This is why people suddenly get defensive, restless, paranoid, or angry after being mean to someone. Not guilt. To feel guilty, you need a conscience. It's the shock of their dreams coming true. They eventually realize they weren't in charge. They weren't the tough one. They didn't have the upper hand. They know that the whole thing was based on falsehoods they told themselves. When karma targets illusions first, it leaves the individual psychologically rattled, emotionally broken, and spiritually open. That's when the fear really starts because they know what's coming next won't be nice. Second, their biggest karma was figuring out that you were never the weak link. People learned the hard way that they were wrong about who they were dealing with after they hurt someone. They felt you were weak, easy to control, or easy to break. They told themselves that you didn't realize what was going on or that you didn't have the strength, knowledge, or support to fight back. But karma has a way of changing things, and when it happens, the shock stays with you forever. The instant they understood that the individual they thought was weak was not the weak link, their punishment started. Yes, they were. What makes this knowledge so terrible is that it makes them face their own mistakes. They thought you were underneath them, which gave them confidence. They fed their ego by treating you badly because they thought you didn't have a voice, support, spiritual foundation, or strength. Something breaks inside them when life starts to favor the person they tried to hurt. That's when they realize you weren't weak. You were patient. You weren't in the dark. You were watching. You weren't weak. You were getting bigger. And that revelation hurts more than any retribution ever could. It shows out all of their weaknesses that they tried to cover. It makes them think about what they did again. But this time they know how wrong they were. That humiliation is a kind of judgment in and of itself. People don't like being incorrect, particularly when they thought they were better than everyone else. So, when karma shows them how strong, tough, and valuable you really are, their pride hurts first. They start to see you becoming better, moving forward, or shining in ways they didn't anticipate. They secretly wanted you to have the chance to do things. They believed they devastated places, yet peace follows you there. They thought they took your confidence away, but it came back. That's when they feel the truth the most. They got everything wrong. You weren't the weakest piece on the board. You were the portion that was most protected by God. Karma didn't have to kill them. It only needs to tell the truth, and the truth was enough to make them feel very small. The third one, karma waits to give them time to stop. The penalty goes right because of the delay. Karma never rushes. It sits there, and the reason for the delay isn't because it's forgetful or sluggish. It's a plan. It provides individuals the opportunity to change their behavior, think about what they've done, and stop doing things that hurt them. But most people think that the wait is freedom. They think that not having an immediate consequence means they are safe. They push harder, lie louder, manipulate more, and act if their decisions don't matter. That's when karma starts to operate in the scariest manner possible, by making every mistake worse over time. The longer they get away with it, the worse it will be in the end. Karma doesn't simply punish people for no reason. It figures out the best time to give out punishments. Every hour, they think they've gotten away with it. They're making things worse. The wait is a quiet warning, but it's also a trap, since most people don't stop to think about it. They're too busy feeling like they are in charge, making fun of others, or celebrating little wins that hurt someone else. When karma finally comes, it doesn't seem like a little problem. It strikes exactly where it hurts, hitting every weak spot that has formed during the wait. What they believed was safe turns out to be dangerous. What they believed was smart turns out to be proof of carelessness. And all of a sudden, every decision they took without thinking about it comes back to haunt them in ways they never expected. Because karma is patient, the penalty is far stronger than if it had happened right away. Karma makes sure that the lesson sticks by making you wait. It helps them realize how much their actions really matter. The delay lets life develop tension until the truth comes out, and the repercussions are so strong that they can be ignored, denied, or downplayed. And that's why the person who felt they could get away with it forever is typically astonished, overwhelmed, and completely exposed when karma finally chooses to strike. The more they disregarded the warning, the worse the wake-up call was. Karma's forbearance is not the same as compassion. It's a plan, and there's no stopping it from coming. For the judgment they were afraid of from others became the judgment they couldn't get away from. People who hurt others are often afraid of being found out, embarrassed, or shamed. They plan every move they make to avoid being watched, maintain the image they've painstakingly built, and make others think they can't be touched. They lie, change things, and control stories because they are afraid of being judged. But karma has a way of twisting the dread within, making it something far more horrible and unavoidable than any outside criticism. When someone wrongs a strong or honest person, they think they are only avoiding responsibility. They tell themselves that no one will notice what they do, that their deeds will stay hidden, and that they may safely disregard their conscience. People don't always get the justice they anticipate from karma. It doesn't always happen right away or in public shame. Instead, it makes the person live in the judgment they were trying to escape. Their mind is like a courtroom. Their thoughts become the relentless prosecutors, and their fear of being found out becomes a permanent echo that they can't get rid of. They keep thinking about their mistakes, seeing their own reflection in every failure, mischance, and awkward meeting. The voices they were afraid of from the outside world became louder and louder in their own heads. Everything they said about you that wasn't true, every time they tried to control you, and every time they were mean to you comes back to them over and over again, making them feel anxious, guilty, and ashamed in ways they never thought they would. The scariest aspect is that this judgment never stops. No one else needs to see it. They can't get away from it by relocating, being busy, or controlling other people. Karma makes sure that the terror they lived in for of being exposed, rejected, and called out becomes inevitable, close, and impossible to escape. They're stuck in their own minds and have to deal with the results of their actions all the time. This is why those who used to make fun of you and harm you start to fall apart, looking scared and worried. Karma didn't have to ruin them from the outside. It just made them face what they had always been afraid of the most, the truth about themselves and how much damage they had done. 5. They lost control over the story they made, which was their karma. People who lie, cheat, or hurt others frequently live in a world they make for themselves. A well-thought-out story that makes them appear clever, justified, and untouchable. They think that every lie they utter, every rumor they propagate, and every act of sabotage is part of a tale that keeps them in charge. They depend on it to keep their reputation safe, scare others, and keep up the appearance that they are always one step ahead. But karma has a way of breaking that illusion down with precision, and it begins by taking away the power they felt they had over the tale. When someone hurts you, they generally think they can control how you see things. They believe they can change people's minds, control the results, and make sure that no one knows what really happened. But as soon as karma gets involved, the story changes. The lies they said about you show what kind of people they are. The rumors they spread come back to them in ways they never expected. The story they were in charge of suddenly gets out of hand, and the people they thought would back up their story start to doubt, pull away, or even tell the truth about them. The real punishment is feeling powerless. People who build their life on lies have to watch the truth come out and can't do anything to stop it. Every twist in the story that chooses to help them now hurts them. The thing they valued most above honesty and morality, their feeling of control, is gone, and with that loss follows a mental breakdown. They start to panic, feel ashamed, and feel hopeless when they realize that they can't hide behind their interpretation of reality anymore. Karma doesn't necessarily have to strike hard or have big effect right away. Sometimes, just taking away the story they thought they were in charge of is enough to make them feel better. When a manipulated story falls apart, it shows their weaknesses, shows their lies, and makes them vulnerable in ways they never thought possible. The start of their reckoning is when they lose control of the tale they created, the moment they finally realize that their own actions led to the downfall they can't avoid. 6. People they used to laugh with saw them fall apart. One of the worst things that can happen in karma is seeing the people who used to support, encourage, or laugh with someone become witnesses to their downfall. People who hurt you typically have friends, allies, or co-workers who either helped them do bad things or were caught up in their plans. They thought they were invincible because they thought that as long as they had their close friends on their side, nothing could stop them. But karma has a way of changing sides and turning those who are watching into mirrors that show everyone what they did wrong. The irony is strong. People who formerly supported them may now see every joke they made at your expense, every strategy they had to trick you, and every lie they used to get what they wanted. These witnesses start to see trends, discrepancies, and the reality beneath the veneer they liked. People who used to think they were smart, charming, or untouchable now seem careless, open, and weak. Their laughter, friendship, and shared guilt turn into criticism, doubt, and sometimes even quiet condemnation. Karma doesn't have to make things dramatic to teach a lesson. The offender thought they were in charge, yet all it took for these supporters to see, ask questions, or step aside was to do so. Everyone who formerly supported their authority now serves as a quiet reminder of their failure. The fact that others they thought were loyal, funny, or unimportant can now see and confirm their downfall makes them feel even more humiliated and introspective. This karmic effect is very subtle. It doesn't need fights, disagreements, or blame, because these witnesses were involved. The repercussions are worse because they show how the offender misjudged not just your strength but also the knowledge and judgment of people around them. The network they used to protect themselves slowly shows how wrong they were, and the laughter they used to have at other people's expense turns into quiet, unavoidable acceptance of their own failure. In the end, Karma makes sure that everyone who is involved, whether they meant to or not, is affected by the truth. This means that the person who did wrong has to face a public and very personal reckoning. 7. Karma first attacked their comfort because that was their shield. People who hurt others usually use comfort as their shield. Comfort from money, comfort from status, comfort from habit, and comfort from control. It's what makes them brave enough to hurt other people without thinking twice. They think these shields make them invincible and that nothing can hurt them or threaten their power as long as they remain safe. Karma knows just where to hit first. It doesn't go after the surface things right away. It assaults the thing that made them feel strong, their comfort. When their comfort is taken away, their flaws become apparent. The money they thought would make them feel safe could suddenly disappear or not work. Status they used to scare others might fail or fall apart when looked at closely. People they used as tools to get what they wanted may turn cold, distant, or even betray them. The barrier that enabled them behave so arrogantly goes away, leaving them vulnerable and striving to get back what they previously thought was theirs. This is when fear starts to set in because they discover that the safety net they thought they had wasn't as strong as they thought. The genius of karma is how subtle it is. It doesn't have to be loud or chaotic. It takes away what they rely on the most without them knowing it, making them face their weakness. They can't use their money, positions, or power to hide anymore. Every arrogant choice they made and every step they took without thinking about it begins to come back to haunt them. Their once safe world starts to feel shaky, and the stress that comes with that shakiness is their punishment. Karma's attack on comfort also shows what kind of person they really are, how they act when the things they depend on are taken away. A lot of people fall apart, get angry, or run away in desperation, and the irony is strong. They wanted to hurt others, but now the harm comes back to them in a way they can't stop. Case, their shield was always temporary, and as soon as it fell, they were left open to the full force of reality. Fear, humility, and realization all come together in that exposure, and it marks the beginning of the reckoning they have put off for too long. 8. They thought they hurt you emotionally, but karma made them lose their minds. People who try to hurt other people emotionally typically think they are in charge. They think that their comments, falsehoods, and tricks will hurt the other person and make them feel weak, vulnerable, or desperate. They believe they've succeeded when they've hurt someone, but karma doesn't work the way they think it does. It doesn't merely give out penalties on the outside. It functions in ways that are far deeper. The real punishment starts within, in a place they never dreamed would be affected. While they were busy attempting to tear you apart, karma silently tore them apart from the inside out. Every mean thing they did, every planned insult, and every time they tried to ruin your calm set off a quiet, unending chain reaction in their own mind and spirit. They start to lose faith in themselves. Their pride falters, and they start to feel like someone else, someone who is smart, impenetrable, and in charge. They start to lose touch with who they believed they were. The falsehoods they used to get what they wanted come back to haunt them. They thought that their selfish choices would make them stronger, but they instead make them feel alone. They are not merely losing power or influence, they are losing their way. The best thing about this form of karma is that you can't see it. At first, no one may notice the difference, but the person who did the hurt begins to feel it the most. They wake up feeling empty, like their intentions and reality don't match up, and they realize that what they've done has destroyed the entire basis of who they thought they were. And the saddest thing is that they can't blame anybody. It is a natural result of the energy they put into the world. They won't be able to do anything about it until it's too late. They tried to injure, control, or trick them, but things didn't go as planned. Karma doesn't merely punish those who do bad things. It fixes the problem of their being who they are and hurting others. The lesson of losing yourself within is more harder than any outside penalty could be, and that is the part that moves them the most. The silent reckoning is what shakes them up, makes them uneasy, and makes them always aware of the harm they've done to others and to themselves. 9. Karma didn't hit their life, it hit their image. The most scary kind of karma doesn't happen on the outside. It doesn't hit their financial account, reputation, or social circle first. It strikes their image. It makes people see themselves plainly, without the falsehoods, filters, and illusions they've been using to hide. This moment is terrible for someone who has hurt others. They spent years building their identities, making up stories that make every bad decision seem right, and telling themselves that they're smart, safe, or right. Karma doesn't have to ruin their environment. It just takes off the masks and shows them who they really are. This fight is hard because it's personal. No one else needs to see it. Unlike when it's in public, it is inside you, and it won't stop. They start to see how their actions don't match up with what they've said, how every lie echoes in their mind, and how heavy every action that hurts someone else is. The person they see in the mirror isn't who they thought they were. It's a person who is empty because of their pride, harshness, and lies. When they are forced to be self-aware, that becomes their punishment. They know that the power they had was just for a short time. They wanted respect, but it was only given under certain conditions. They thought they had control, but it was a weak illusion. Karma is so powerful because it hits the mirror so accurately. It's not only embarrassing or annoying, it breaks the ego. They can't mislead themselves anymore. Every reason they came up with for what they did falls apart. The psychological burden they carry is far larger than anything outside of them. They know their own inadequacies, the truth about their decisions, and the damage they caused. When a person sees themselves clearly, they start to feel scared. They know how big what they've done is, how pointless it is to hide, and how unavoidable the repercussions are that they can no longer deny. Karma didn't have to track them down, threaten them, or become involved in their lives in a direct way. It just made them face who they are. And for someone who thrived online, manipulating and controlling others, seeing that reflection is a reckoning that hurts more than anything else. 10. Karma showed them how powerful you really were without you doing anything. If someone attempted to hurt you, the most unexpected thing for them to learn is that you have more power than they ever thought. They spent all their time strategizing, manipulating, and attempting to dominate the story, thinking they were in charge of everything. Every move they made against you was meant to make you weaker, less stable, or more open to attack. But even though you weren't doing anything to get back at them or plan against them, things started to change in your favor, and they could only watch. That is how cruelly accurate karma is. You don't always have to become involved. It works softly and well, showing them things they never wanted to see. This kind of karmic retribution is terrible because it shows how wrong they were. They thought you were weak, ignorant, or didn't know what was going on. But they were entirely mistaken about what they thought. They couldn't see how you were constructing, watching, and getting in line with them. They attempted to stop you from getting opportunities, but they did. People who didn't believe in you or thought you were worthless began to see how valuable you are. Things that should have been problems turned out to be opportunities for development, strength, and visibility. The cosmos was silently moving the scales in your favor every time they believed they were winning. Seeing this happen is a punishment in and of itself. They see doors opening for you as they fight to stay in charge. They witness someone they tried to bring down getting fame, respect, or success. Their efforts to get in the way or ruin things are no longer important. The energy they expended against you merely shows how bad they are at what they do. The fact that you are getting better while they are becoming worse makes the shame worse. Karma doesn't only make things right, it makes people more conscious. It shows them that the person they sought to hurt and thought was weak was never really weak. You never had to fight back directly. You were strong, patient, and in line with the truth of life. And as they stand, they're watching you rise with ease. They can't ignore the power they misjudged, the strength they dismissed, and the fact that all of their efforts were completely useless in the end. 11. Their efforts to hurt you backfired on them. People who want to hurt someone else often think that what they do is clever, hidden, or impossible to catch. They lie, cheat, and plan, hoping that no one would notice or be able to find out what they did. They don't understand that every step they take leaves a mark. Every lie, every rumor, and every trick becomes a piece of proof, and karma has a way of bringing that path back to them. The energy and intention they put into attempting to hurt you is what proves they did wrong, and it puts them in a position they never expected. This is what makes karmic justice so great. It doesn't necessarily need witnesses from outside or penalties right away. Their own behaviors become clear to anybody who looks attentively, and frequently to themselves first. The flow of life keeps track of every lie they told to damage your reputation, every attempt to ruin chances that were meant for you, and every bit of energy they used to bring you down. And when the time is right, those actions come back as clear proof that they not only meant to do something but also failed to do it. What they thought was a personal win turns out to be proof of their wrongdoings in public, and nothing is worse than finding out that all the work they did against you just proved their guilt. It's so ironic that it hurts. The more ruthless and sneaky they were in attempting to kill you, the more solid their proof became. Their own plans, which were meant to hurt, show the truth about who they are. Friends, co-workers, or even people who just happen to be around start to notice the patterns and see the difference between what they say they are and what they really did. Even if you don't do anything, the universe makes things happen so that their attempts to hurt you leave a record that shows who they are, forcing them to try to cover up mistakes that can't be hidden. By the time they get it, it's too late. They've made their own case against themselves, and karma made sure it can't be denied. The weapons they used to hurt you have now become a trap, showing without a doubt that they were the ones who caused their own collapse. Their efforts to damage you become the proof against them, and that realization is the most exact and painful form of justice they could ever face. 12. They sent out energy, and it came back in a way they can't hide from. Everything a person gives to the world eventually comes back to them, and the energy of those who hurt others is very strong. People that propagate jealousy, cruelty, deceit, or manipulation think that it will help them, give them power, or go away without any problems. But karma never forgets and never gives in. The energy they let loose doesn't simply go away. It comes back, usually stronger, in a way that they can't hide from or get away from. What people send out into the world comes back to them, shaped by their innermost fears and weaknesses, and the results are as certain as they are accurate. The scary element is how exact it is. Karma doesn't merely punish people at random. Everything they did to hurt you, such being petty, envious, lying, and trying to undermine you, comes back in ways that show precisely what they were trying to conceal. If they lied, the truth comes out and confronts them. If they are jealous, they will have to deal with times when they can't do anything while others do well. If they were mean, they would be rejected, alone, or betrayed. The cosmos doesn't teach one lesson to everyone. It gives you a mirror, and the reflection is perfect. They can't get away from it, run away from it, or change the way they think about it. This kind of karma is especially scary, since it doesn't require anybody to see it. The effects are both internal and outward, and they can be seen in the fractures that appear in their relationships, jobs, and peace of mind. The energy people put out comes back like a boomerang, striking not just their situation but also their mind. They start to feel the weight of everything they do, say, and mean. The more they attempt to explain it away or reject it, the more the return hurts. The fact that the person they hurt doesn't have to do anything to make it happen is what makes it so scary. Karma just is what it does. The very energy they thought they were putting out as a weapon is what returns back to destroy their feeling of safety, stability, and dominance. And when it comes, you can't hide, dodge, or make excuses. They can't get away from the energy when it comes back, and when they realize that they made their own trap, they are shocked, humbled, and fully aware that the universe cannot be fooled. 13th, their karma was to watch you get better while they got worse. One of the most powerful types of karmic justice is a noisy or disruptive. It's so private, and it makes you feel really ashamed. It comes from seeing someone you attempted to hurt become stronger, prosper, and flourish as your own life falls apart. People who are mean to others typically think that if they push, trick, or undermine enough, they will win. They imagine that their target will give up, have trouble, or perhaps fall apart when things become tough. But karma has a way of turning the tables in the most beautiful and painful manner. They can only watch as you soar while their own life falls apart. This kind of karmic retribution is subtle yet very bad, since it doesn't need confrontation. They don't need to be hit, embarrassed, or seen directly. Just seeing how far you've come is enough to make them uneasy. Every time you reach a goal, every door that opens for you, and every recognition or blessing that comes your way is a reminder that they were wrong. They can see that you are becoming more confident, having more of an impact, and getting more serenity and pleasure, and they have nothing to do with it. Their plans to become involved were pointless, their strategies were useless, and their control was entirely broken. The actual pain is in the difference. While others are trying, scrambling, or dealing with problems they never saw coming. You go ahead naturally. The guy they believed they might break is now doing quite well without any problems. Every mistake they make, while trying to get back on track or take back control, shows how stable, strong, and unshakable you are. Their world is slowly falling apart, and your rise makes it much more obvious. Seeing someone they used to try to hurt prosper is a punishment that no fight or retaliation could match. It makes them confront the reality about what they did. They made a mistake in their calculations. They didn't realize how bad it was, and they were never in charge. Karma doesn't need to yell. It just lets them see what will happen. You will rise and they will fall, with no way to escape, no excuse, and no way to go back in time. Their reckoning is the quiet, unstoppable watching of your success. 13. Karma made them face the one thing they were always afraid of, being responsible. People who hurt others don't fear public humiliation, losing money, or being rejected by others. It's being responsible, the unvarnished fact that people are accountable for the outcomes of their acts. They spend their lives blaming other people, changing the story, and hiding behind falsehoods to escape this moment. But karma has a way of getting folks into situations where they can't make excuses anymore. When it comes, responsibility hurts more than any penalty because it is inescapable, personal, and lasting. Karma doesn't merely punish them on the outside. It makes them think about the decisions they made and how each one led to the end of the life they believed they had. Every lie, every deception, and every effort to hurt someone else is evidence that they brought about their own collapse. You can't dismiss, deflect, or shrug off responsibility as you can with shame or humiliation. It takes away all of their pretense and leaves simply the truth of what they did and the effects it had. When they have to take responsibility, it's like the universe has taken away all the things that helped them. They feel more vulnerable than they ever thought they could, and that exposure disturbs them to their core. There is no need for anybody to point fingers. The proof is in the lives they're living, the chances they wasted, the relationships they broke, and the tranquility they lost. They can't lie, cheat, or avoid the truth, so the weight of duty keeps pushing down on them. Karma is smart because it knows when to act and how to do it. Accountability typically comes after the delay they thought was immunity, making sure that when it does come, it seems like it can't be avoided. They learn it too late that they were never above the law of cause and effect. The fear they had all along, fear of being found out for who they really are, comes true, leaving them shaken, humbled, and painfully aware that every mistake they made along the way led to the trap they're now in. The ultimate lesson in karma is facing responsibility, one that changes them forever, makes it impossible to deny, and makes them face the reality they attempted to avoid their whole existence. Karma is not only about luck, chance, or cause and consequence. It is a strong, steady force that moves with purpose, patience, and incomparable precision. Every falsehood, every action, and every effort to hurt or control someone else will come back to haunt them, often in ways that are too big for them to ignore. Karma operates softly but devastatingly, bringing about events that show the actual nature of their deeds. It does this by making their illusions fall apart, showing them their own mistakes, and taking away their comfort. People who sought to injure you are most scared, since it doesn't necessarily mean facing you directly or punishing you openly. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from falling apart within, losing control, seeing your own mirror, and being held accountable. Karma makes sure that the person who didn't believe in you sees the whole truth. You were never weak. You never had to fight to get ahead, and the strength, resilience, and clarity you had were always too much for them to understand. It doesn't just make things right, it points out every mistake, makes every bad decision seem worse, and leaves the person who hurt you fully responsible for what they did. The rise of the innocent, the fall of the manipulator, and the quiet, inevitable justice that follows are all stories of timing, precision, and complete fairness, even if the person who caused the chaos doesn't think it's fair. This is more than just a lesson for them in the end. Anyone who sees it should remember that life watches, balances, and never forgets the energy we send out into the world. The cosmos has a way of making sure that the truth always comes out, and that those who try to hurt others finally get what they deserve. Karma's influence is quiet, unyielding, and impossible to ignore. And it is the best way to tell the difference between those who behave with honesty and others who act out of selfishness. If you thought this video was compelling and eye-opening, be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our deep dives into the hidden realities of life. If this video made you think, please like it, leave a comment with your ideas or experiences below, and share this with someone who needs to know how powerful karma is. Be vigilant, be strong, and remember that the cosmos always keeps track of what happens. God bless you.